you arrested in the same location as any of the three gentlemen that are here today? Yes, I was. Who else was in the same location as you when you got arrested? I was standing in the spot by myself. That guy right there in the yellow is standing. He was sitting on the first fire hydrant, indicating to, please, Your Honor, Mr. Mack, Mr. Mack. Thank you, sir. And the guy in the middle, I guess, Mr. Harris. He was playing football in the street, and Mr. Hudson was talking to another guy on the outside of the park. So all three of these gentlemen were in the general area of this park, right? Right. And were they all inside the park or outside the park? Outside. When the police arrived? Outside. When the police arrived? Yes. And do you recall how many police officers arrived at that location when they arrived? I think it was about 6, I am not sure. Okay, and where were you exactly? Standing right in the corner, right in the middle of the corner facing the park. Okay, and when you say the corner, do you mean the corner by the main entrance of the park? Yeah, the corner part of the park, yeah. Up until, well, on that day, April 19, 1997, did you know my client, Mr. Harris, at all? No. Did you know his face? Just by face, that's it. Speak to him and going about my business. So, he was a person that you knew from the park? From the park, yeah. Objection as leading, overruled. How is it that you knew his face? Just seeing him, you know, passing through there, that's all. He is not a person that's always there, though. Okay. But Mr. Harris was somebody who you knew from your experiences there at the park? Yes, just passing through. Starts with question by defense attorney. $184 voice for 5 minutes. Good morning, Mr. Cormier. Good morning. How are you? All right. I represent Jack Hudson. You mentioned his name a moment ago, did you not? Yes, I did. And do you know who Jack Hudson is? The guy with the gray shirt on with the print tie and ponytail, indicating defendant Hudson. Did you see Mr. Hudson in the park on April 19, 1997? Yes, I have. Did you have any conversations with him that day? No, I didn't. Were you in the vicinity of where he was during the course of, strike that. Before you were arrested, were you next to Mr. Hudson any time? No. How is it that you saw Mr. Hudson that day? Well, like I said, he was standing out there talking to one of his friends he ain't seen in a while. Now, did you ever give Mr. Hudson any money on April 19, 1997? No, I didn't. Did you ever talk to Mr. Hudson about buying that day? No. Just to make it clear, when you went to the park on April 19, 1997, did you have marijuana in your possession? Yes, I did. Okay. After you were arrested, did you have any conversations with police officers about the marijuana that they found on him? Yes. I am sorry. Did I have any conversation with the police officers? Yes. What kind of conversations pertaining to, well, did you ever tell them where you got the dope from? Mr. Cormier? Yes. Now let's get certain things out of the way first. You have been convicted of crimes before, have you not? Yes. You are serving time, are you not? Right. How do you know my client's name? From here now. You said Mr. Mack. How do you know his name is Mr. Mack? He told me. Who? Because I know him from here. From where? Jail? Yeah. I never knew his name on the street, though. You didn't know his name on the street? No. You met him in jail? Yes. Did he tell you what to say today? No. You realize you are under oath, and if you are lying, you will be convicted of perjury for giving additional perjury? Right. You realize that, don't you? Right. Are you telling the truth? Yes. The district attorney's office send anybody to speak to you? No. Did I ever speak to you? No. I never spoke to you? No. What happened yesterday? Did I speak to you yesterday? Oh. Sir, you got to be sure of your answers. We want to know the truth. Did I speak to you yesterday? Yes. Did you ever speak to me before yesterday? No. Is it true that I asked you what happened in the park? Yes. Is that what I asked you? Yes. And I told you yesterday to be truthful, is that right? Right. And I told you what happens if you're not truthful when you take that stand. Is that true? True. What do you remember when you went into that park about what Mr. Mack was doing, if anything? He was just sitting on the fire hydrant, the Johnny pump, is that correct? Yes. You call it a Johnny pump or fire hydrant. I call it a fire hydrant. What was he doing? Just sitting there. Did he talk to anybody? No, he was by himself. Were you paying any attention to him? Was I? Yeah. Were you paying? I'm not talking to anybody else. No, I wasn't. I was just minding my own business, you know. Every time I looked in his direction, he was sitting there, right? And what is and was your business encompass? What is your business? Selling weed. And by selling weed, you mean selling marijuana? Selling marijuana. Now, there came a time when you were arrested because they searched you and found marijuana on you. Is that correct? Correct. 3 bags? Correct. And am I correct when I say that your testimony is under oath? Your testimony is that 5 bags, you sold 2, you went to get some wine, you came back with 3? Correct. Now, when you bought the wine, you gave the person money for the wine, did you not? I gave yes or no. When you bought the wine, did you give the person you bought the wine from money? The store, yeah. You didn't get it for nothing? No, I didn't. You bought it in a store? Right, okay. So you had money left in your pocket, is that right? That's correct. Now the policeman testified objection in that he recommended sustained. Thank you, Your Honor. The policeman arrest you? Yes, okay. Did he search you? Yes. Did he find the marijuana in your pocket? Yes, he did. Still in the 3 bags, is that correct? Correct. So we have no doubt in our mind because we had cross-examined the chemist, but it looks like it is marijuana. There is no doubt about it. Is that right? Right. Okay. And the policeman took the 3 bags from you. Is that correct? Correct. Objection to this line of questioning as consistently leading, sustained. Try to ask a non-leading question. Yes, Your Honor. All right. We are starting off with the court, going into cross-examination by defense attorney. Good morning, everybody. Where were we at last Thursday? I was just about to commence with the testimony of Ellen Long. She was on the witness stand. Would you please resume the stand, Mrs. Long? May I proceed, Your Honor? Yes, you may. Mrs. Long, do you recall testifying on Thursday last week that you had received some monies from your parents, Harold and Edna Bloom? Yes. Do you have with you today a check register that shows the disbursements of monies from Edna Bloom's checking account number 543801154? Yes. Your Honor, I would stipulate to this check register, it is a check register for one of the checking accounts in the name of Edna and Harold Bloom. I stipulate the entries in that check register in that account were made by either Edna or Harold. Do you accept the stipulation? Your Honor, I would only ask about a portion of that check register. I don't want to belabor the court with the detailed notes in the account. I am only concerned with those which I will be asking about here in court. Other than that, I will stipulate or accept counsel's stipulation. I would prefer to have the entire check register entered in there. Excuse me, Your Honor. My original intention at the beginning of this trial was to the effect that if any document was to be offered, the entire document would be offered into evidence, so I withdraw my stipulation. All right. Should that be marked as plaintiffs or defendants? Who wants it? Well, defendants 1, I guess, would be apropos, Your Honor. You mean defendants A. Will that be her respondent? I believe her respondent. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy. Perhaps we can mark it after I'm through questioning. Miss Long, do you recall the amounts of monies that you received in 1986 and 1987 from Edna Bloom? I recall receiving money. I would not like to divulge the exact amounts. I really don't remember them all without referring to the check register. Have you reviewed this check register prior to coming into court today? Yes, ma'am. Was your memory refreshed as to the sum of $16,000? Was that the amount used for the purchase of your vehicle, the Ford Mustang? Yes. And in June of 1986, Edna Bloom paid you the sum of $5,000. Is that correct? That was a gift. And in July of 1987, she paid you the sum of $1,000. May I refer to the entry? Certainly. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Yes. Counsel, excuse me. What year was the June payment you were referring to? 1986. I'm just about to ask her about 1987. July 87. Was that for $1,000? June of 86 was $5,000. The sums again, $1,000. In June of 1987, she paid you the sum of $400. Is that correct? Well, that was a graduation gift. And in August of 1987, she paid you the sum of $200. That was my birthday, yes. And in September of 1987, she paid you the sum of $250. Yes. Did you pay back that loan? No, I didn't. Was there a promissory note or some document which reflected the terms of that loan? No. And in October of 1987, I see an amount of $100 on this account. Is that your handwriting? Yes, it is. And had your mother passed away by the time that check was written? No, she was visiting relatives in Boise, Idaho for a month. Other than those aforementioned sums, were there any additional sums that Edna Bloom or Harold Bloom paid you? I remember various gifts, yes. If you could give us a dollar estimate as to the total amount of money which was given to you by Harold and Edna Bloom, please do so at this time. May I caution the witness not to guess? I cannot give you a dollar amount. During the time span which is reflected by this check register, strike that, were the gifts or monies by Harold and Edna Bloom prior to the time reflected by this check register? I'm sorry, would you please repeat the question? We have perused the check register and these various gifts which were given to you by Harold and Edna Bloom. Were these gifts unusual or were they fairly common? Unusual. Is there some event which made these gifts or payments unusual? Yes. And what is the event that you considered that made these payments unusual? I was married in January of 1986. My husband and I were both full-time students and we were trying to become self-supporting. I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor. Redirect. Mrs. Long, would you look at this check register again? I'm a little confused. You said that there was a $5,000 check written to you sometime in June 1986. Is that correct? That's correct. And the next check was for $1,000? Yes. What was that for? Do you remember? For school. Well, was that a gift or a loan? I considered it a loan. In January of 87, there was a check for $100? Yes. What was that for? I can't recall. In June of 87, I see a check for $400. What was that for? Graduation present. And you said August was your birthday. You received $200. I don't remember the amount. In September, you indicate there was a check for $250. Was that also a loan? Yes. And the last entry was $100 in 1987? Yes. Do I understand that the total of these checks that you referred to as loans were for your education, my education, clothing, necessaries, etc.? I have no further questions, Your Honor. Any recross? Yes, Your Honor. With respect to these loans, did you pay any of those loans back? No, I did not. No further questions, Your Honor. You may step down. Next witness. Let's try that one again. Good morning, everybody. Where were we at last Thursday? I was just about to commence with the testimony of Ellen Long. As she was on the witness stand, would you please resume the stand, Mrs. Long? May I proceed, Your Honor? Yes, you may. Mrs. Long, do you recall testifying on Thursday last week that you had received some monies from your parents, Harold and Edna Bloom? Yes. And do you have with you today a check register that shows the disbursements of monies from Edna Bloom's checking account number 54380-1154? Yes. Your Honor, I would stipulate to this check register, it is a check register for one of the checking accounts in the name of Edna and Harold Bloom. I stipulate the entries in that check register in that account were made by either Edna or Harold. And do you accept the stipulation? Your Honor, I would only like to ask about a portion of that check register. I don't want to belabor the court with the detailed notes in the account. I am only concerned with those which I will be asking about here in court. Other than that, I will stipulate or accept counsel's stipulations. I would prefer to have the entire check register entered in there. Excuse me, Your Honor. My original intention at the beginning of this trial was to the effect that if any document was to be offered, the entire document will be offered into evidence. So I withdraw my stipulation. All right. Should that be marked as plaintiffs or defendants? Who wants it? Well, defendants 1, I guess, would be apropos, Your Honor. You mean defendants A. Will that be her respondent? I believe her respondent. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy. Perhaps we can mark it after I'm through questioning. Ms. Long, do you recall the amounts of monies that you received in 1986 and 1987 from Edna Bloom? I recall receiving money. Good morning, everybody. Where were we at last Thursday? I was just about to commence with the testimony of Ellen Long. She was on the witness stand. Would you please resume the stand, Mrs. Long? May I proceed, Your Honor? Yes, you may. Mrs. Long, do you recall testifying on Thursday last week that you had received some monies from your parents, Harold and Edna Bloom? Yes. Do you have with you today a check register that shows the disbursements of monies from Edna Bloom's checking account number 54380-1154? Yes. Your Honor, I would stipulate to this check register, it is a check register for one of the checking accounts in the name of Edna and Harold Bloom. I stipulate the entries in that check register in that account were made by either Edna or Harold. Do you accept the stipulation? Your Honor, I would only like to ask about a portion of that check register. I don't want to belabor the court with the detailed notes in the account. I am only concerned with those which I will be asking about here in court. Other than that, I will stipulate or accept counsel's stipulation. I would prefer to have the entire check register entered in there. Excuse me, Your Honor. My original intention at the beginning of this trial was to the effect that if any document was to be offered, the entire document would be offered into evidence, so I withdraw my stipulation. All right. Should that be marked as plaintiffs or defendants? Who wants it? Well, defendants 1, I guess, would be apropos, Your Honor. You mean defendants A. Will that be her respondent? I believe her respondent. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy. Perhaps we can mark it after I'm through questioning. Ms. Long, do you recall the amounts of monies that you received in 1986 and 1987 from Edna Bloom? I recall receiving money. I would not like to divulge the exact amounts. I really don't remember them all without referring to the check register. Have you reviewed this check register prior to coming into court today? Yes, ma'am. Was your memory refreshed as to the sum of $16,000? Was that the amount used for the purchase of your vehicle, the Ford Mustang? Yes. $200 for voice. Starts with question by defense. What did the policeman do when he searched you? He went into my left pocket and took it out, took the marijuana out, and then handcuffed me and put me in the car. Did he do any other search of your pocket? No. Objection, leading the witness. Any money? I didn't have any money. Excuse me, let me rule on the objection before you ask the question. I am sorry. Objection is overruled. Is that what you told me yesterday? Yes. How much money did you have in your pocket? $9. And did you ever purchase money that day? Did I purchase money? sorry. Did you ever purchase marijuana that day? Yeah, before I got there. Where did you purchase it? From my neighborhood. And how much did you pay for it? $25. How much do you sell it for when you go to your place of business in the park? $5 a bag. How much was left in your pocket after the policeman searched you? What, the marijuana or no, the money? $9. And did you get to the station house? Yes, I did. Were you searched in the station house? Yes. Object to leading the witness, sustained. What happened in the station house? When he got me to the station house, he searched me again. That's when he found the rest of the money in my pocket. Who searched you? The deputy. A different officer? The same one that took the marijuana out of my pocket. And how much did he take from you? $9. Did you ask him, show me the money? Objection, leading the witness, sustained. I have no further questions. Any cross? Mr. Cormier, you say you're telling us the truth today, is that right? Correct. And you're saying that you were in the park to sell marijuana that day? That's right. What time did you get to the park? About 11 o'clock. And what did you sell? Where did you sell the marijuana? The first 2 bags? I sold it right at the park. Who did you sell it to? I don't know who it was. What did he look like? I don't pay no attention to anybody. I just give to them and go about my business. What did the person look like? Male or female? It was a male and a female. How much did they pay you? $5 apiece. Where were you standing? By the park. Where in the park? Right there where I got busted at. And that was right at 11 o'clock. It was about at that time. I didn't have a watch on to tell what time it was. Okay. And how long was it before you saw these 3 men? They came about 2 hours after. 2 hours after, about an hour, hour and a half, something. And so at 11 o'clock, you sold 2 bags of marijuana, and 2 hours later is when you first saw these 3 men that day. Objection, as misstating the testimony, overruled. And you didn't buy marijuana from any of these 3 men. Is that right? No, I did not. Now, do you remember talking to an investigator from Mr. Cho by the name of Rodriguez on May 21? Yes, and did you tell him at that time that you were there to sell marijuana? Yes, I did. You did. Did you want to take a look at the report? Objection as irrelevant. It's impeachment, well sustained as phrased. Would you care to read this report, sir? No. Are you sure you're telling the truth when you say that you told him that you sold marijuana that day? I did tell him I sold it. You did tell him. Mr. Cormier noted that he already had his own supply of marijuana in 1-inch plastic baggies in his left front vest pocket. Objection is improper testifying by the counsel. Sustained, sustained. Now, what did you do for 2 hours after you sold those bags? After I sold, I was still had it in my hand, the wine. Where did you go to get the wine? I went to the store. Where is the store? On San Pedro. Now that is the name of the store? I don't know the name of the store. You have been there to buy wine before? It doesn't have a name on the store. No name on the store. How many times have you bought wine there before? I always buy there. That was my first one that day. Well, you bought it before on other days, haven't you? You have to answer out loud. Correct. And you had a bottle of wine with you when you were arrested, is that right? Correct. Where was it? In my hand. Right in your hand? Yeah. What did the police do with it? They gave it to somebody. They gave the wine to somebody? Yes. Your personal property? Because he told me I was going to get released back out, so she held on for me until I got out. Which officer said this? That arresting officer. I don't know his name. He told you you were going to get released and you didn't take the bottle to take with you to the station? No, he did not. He just gives it away to somebody? I asked him. You asked him to give away this bottle of wine? Yes, because he said I was getting right back out. Now, when the police came 2 hours later, where exactly were you? I was standing right at the corner. Like I said, I was standing on the corner facing the park. And where were these 3 men? One playing football in the streets. One was sitting on the fire hydrant. One talking to one of his friends outside of the park. And how long had they been there before the police showed up? About a good 30 minutes. So for the next 2 hours from the time you first sold those 2 bags of marijuana until 2 hours later, you never tried to sell any more of it. Is that your testimony? I had no chance to. You mean these 3 people and your friend that gave the bottle of wine to you and yourself were the only people in the park? No. There was people at the park playing dominoes and cards stuff hanging around, but I wasn't associating with nobody. Oh, I see. So you knew the 2 people that first bought the first bags of marijuana. They come to me, all the people, but you don't know their names? I don't know. If you don't know what they look, we didn't get to know. You don't know what they look like. Is that your testimony? Even though you have dealt with them before? I don't hear an answer. They were just people that come through, like I said. You're lying, aren't you? No, I am not. You don't know what these people look like, even though you have dealt with them. Is that right? Don't be going around there writing their pictures down and find out what they look like. You want to be sure who you are selling to are not police. I know they are not. She has to write down the question and answer. If you jump in too fast, she can't get both of you at the same time. So let him finish his question. Take a breath before you answer. Now let me ask you that question again, Mr. Cormier. There are about how many people in the park that day? I wasn't counting. So there were more people than just the 2 people you sold? We wasn't in the park. We was outside the park. Listen to my question. There were more people around that day than just the 2 people you sold to at these 3 defendants. Weren't there? Yes, there was. And you sold to these 2 people because you know them and you dealt with them before, didn't you? Right. And you didn't try to sell to anyone else in that park. Is that your testimony? I didn't have no chance to because they came up on us. For 2 hours? Right. You didn't have a chance, I wasn't, to sell to anybody. I was doing something, minding my own business, drinking your wine that you bought. Drinking my wine, I took a walk with your wine bottle that the police gave to someone else because you asked them to. By the way, who was this person that you asked the police to give the wine bottle to? It's a female. What's her name? Bibi. Where do you know her from? From downtown. Where does she live? Downtown. Where? I don't know. How often do you know her? I see her every day down there. What's Bibi's last name? I don't know. I don't even know if that's her real name or not. Did you give this name of Bibi to the investigator that came to see you? He didn't ask me all that. You didn't mention it, did you? That ain't got nothing to do with it. You didn't mention this to anyone else, including the police, did you? What? Do what? About Bibi being a friend of yours. Why should I mention something about that? And you're concerned at all that this